But throughout this movie, I think I probably listened to the most blues and jazz, that I've ever had in my life. Just during the process of making this movie.
With what surprised me most about the genre of blues music is, I guess I wouldn't say it surprised me, but how influential it is and how much music today has only exists because of blues music and certain blues artists.
Yeah. Con Gatica y Javier Ibarreche.
Ryan, Michael, welcome to the Estreno. Congrats on Sinners. I was blown away at what I saw on screen, so thank you for that.
I appreciate it. Thanks for the kind words.
Michael, Sinners really digs into the fear of losing loved ones. Did exploring that emotion on screen as Smoke and Stack give you any new perspective on fear, especially when it comes to how vulnerable we all are when our siblings or our family are threatened?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. I think, how far you would go to protect the people that you care about, even sacrificing yourself, you know what I mean? I think, with my parents, like my mom and my dad, I know they would, in a heartbeat, you know what I'm saying? Like, shield, me, my brother, and my sisters from danger, you know what I'm saying? Or put themselves on the line. So, I think it definitely, had me explore the thoughts of how far Smoke would go, how far Stack would go to protect the people around him that he loved and cared about.
Mary is such a complex character. She has this beautiful arc, and given your own musical background, how does the film challenge you to connect with music from a different perspective, and what surprised you the most about discovering the blues historical and emotional weight?
Music is a huge part of my life. It's always been a huge part of my process, I guess you could say, as an actor. And it's always just an absolute bonus when the music is its own character in the film. I loved that this felt like an introduction into something that felt so familiar, because I think into the last part of your question, what surprised me most about the genre of blues music is, I guess I wouldn't say it surprised me, but how influential it is and how much music today has only exists because of blues music and certain blues artists.
Yeah.
But I loved so much that it was just constantly around us, right? It was being played on set. It was the most fun to put together a playlist of blues music and listen to that on the way to work. Definitely a genre of music that I have a level of appreciation and respect for that is through the roof thanks to this movie.
You've spoken about how Sinners allow you to delve into your ancestral history.
Mm-hmm.
What specific aspects of horror storytelling fascinated you and allowed you to connect so deeply with your own story?
I think horror is a genre that's very ancient. It's very talked about that the first story ever told was probably a scary story. Back in the early days of human history, people gathered around a fire and they probably want to warn the young ones not to go too far, and they tell a scary story about something that's lurking in the shadows. So just the genre gives you an ability to think big and also think ancient. You know what I mean? And that was one really great part about it that I enjoyed, and what types of messages that are in horror movies. They're oftentimes ancient messages. Like don't let a stranger into your house, or don't go out after dark. And some of these same messages exist, in the American South as well.
Sammy goes through a lot, and his experiences shape him significantly. How did you draw on your own emotional depth and musicality, particularly with your connection to the blues, to portray Sammy's journey?
Yeah, so I come from a very musical family, so I grew up with a lot of different genres of music in my household. One of the first songs I learned was Sam Cooke, A Change Is Gonna Come, and that's kind of been a song that's kind of carried me throughout. So to be a part of this project, it gave me a real opportunity to dive into the blues and the different artists and kind of shape how my character would sound, and just overall how he interacts, in this film. So it was very interesting, and I'm grateful to be a part.
And Wumi, Sinners delves also into the supernatural and the unknown, and your character, Annie, is very much at the center of that. What's your own relationship with those concepts, and how fun or thrilling was it for you to explore them within the context of the film?
It was enlightening to do my research. I had never looked into hoodoo, voodoo. I think the only thing I knew of voodoo was James Bond. And, you know, and it was, so I was completely awoken to the healing aspect, the spiritual aspect, this peaceful religious religion that uses natural herbs and roots and spices and is connected to the spiritual world, and how it's connected directly from Ifa, which is the Yoruba traditional religion. And I'm a Yoruba woman, and I had never looked into Ifa. I had no idea about it, and I had no idea that hoodoo came from that. So for me, it was a whole education. Like, I didn't know anything, and I learned so much.
Sinners makes music such a key part of its horror story. After making the film, how has your own feelings about the blues changed or deepened, and what new understanding of its power do you carry with you?
Wow. The blues was always something that was mystical and magical for me. I'm not a musician, but I would listen to the music with my uncle. And he passed away in 2015. And whenever I want to think about him, I'll put one of those records on, and instantly I'm right back there with him, which in itself is a type of magic, you know? And I just wanted to explore that. But, you know, I'll forever be indebted to this art form and to this genre, because it's essentially giving me this movie, this fantastic experience, you know?
You know, the blues or music in general is kind of like time travel, you know? I think you know, it's kind of like the sense of smell. When you smell something, you can go back to the moment you smelled it, you know, the familiar things around it. Same thing with music. I can go back to the first time I heard that song and associate it with those emotions or what I was thinking or feeling at that time. But, you know, throughout this movie, I think I probably listened to the most blues and jazz, you know, that I've ever had in my life, you know, just during the process of making this movie. Just getting in the character and setting the tone and the vibe and the things that Smoke and Stack was listening to around that time. So yeah, music is definitely, specifically the blues, has had a big impact on my life thus far.
And that impact, it translates to what we see on screen. So thank you so much for your job, for making it big every time you work together. Michael B. Jordan, Ryan Coogler, thank you for being with us in the Estreno.
Thank you so much. Thank you.